Breaking news out of the University of Utah, allegedly, kind of, sort of, but not really anymore. Former Utah starting quarterback Cam Rising has announced that he has medically retired from football. He will not play anywhere this year or again after doctors told him that it was not safe for him to continue his football career. And listen, I know that Cam Rising is a lightning bolt, even in the Ute community. I totally understand that. But in these situations, I hope that we take a minute to understand this cat gave his entire existence to the University of Utah, and he paid a massive physical price for it. And I understand that everybody does, and it's football and it hurts. This kid took more heat and more absolute vitriol from Utah fans and suffered so mightily. And now his dream of playing in the National Football League is officially over, if it wasn't already, but it is now officially over. Jake, I'm not mad at Cam Rising. I have a lot of respect for the sacrifice he made for that university.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. I mean, the guy was absolutely the heartbeat of this program for 3 seasons, and took this program to heights that hadn't been seen really ever before in recent times. And I think that, Cam Rising is someone who was a leader. Obviously, people looked up to him. He really embodied Utah football, and I feel like, once that Baylor hit happened, bro, that kind of started the downhill, snowball effect into, hey, we're gonna have an awful season the following year. We're gonna just this whole thing, and I feel like for Utah, this is the closure that the program needed. I think the questions around, hey, what was Cam going to do? Was this guy going to play in the NFL? Where was he going to go? It's not that really has an impact on Utah football, but there were so many people that like Cam Rising that I think, getting that finality and that closure for him was not only important for him, but also just for the community around Utah football. And I think, Utah is obviously in a position where they got to have themselves a season this year. They definitely need to be, I would say, top 3 in the Big-12, if not competing to win the conference this year, and bounce back and do what they said they were going to do when they joined the conference. So I think that this Cam Rising retirement thing is I hate saying it's a good thing, because I never wish a guy to have to retire from a medical issue or situation that he's going through. But I just feel like emotionally for the football program needed that. And now it's like, hey, we can really focus on, from a public facing standpoint, we can focus on this season. We can focus on the new guys here, and we can move on to whoever that next, quarterback's going to be. Right. Because I still don't buy that, the average Joe Utah football fan who doesn't obsess, who tunes it out during the summer and in the off season, is still got a lot of learning to do on this roster. You have no idea who your OC is. You don't know who your quarterback is, or who your running back is, or who these dudes are.
I disagree. I think Devin Dampier is a stud. I think Jason Beck is a known commodity. I agree. It's going to take some time. I think the mourning period for Cam Rising's been 2 years in the making. The year he sat out where everybody expected him to play, it's unfortunate a dirty hit is going to end his career. That's what it looks like, at least, again, and I'll put the statement back up on the screen. You read that first paragraph. Due to a hand injury I suffered during the Baylor game, I have been advised by 2 orthopedic physicians I'll never be able to return to the football field. And that, to me, is a devastating blow. And it's unfortunate a dirty hit ended that. Cam Rising is not a scapegoat. He's not to blame. He's not a reason. Cam Rising's a guy that'll be remembered for being tough, oft injured, certainly, but some of the biggest moments, stepping in for a noodle arm quitter quarterback who was supposed to be the world and turned out to be a zero.
Facts.
Cam Rising stepped in and brought this team to the Rose Bowl. And I think when you look at his leadership, his tenacity, that's what we should all remember Cam Rising for. Is there frustration? Sure. Are you disappointed in how Cam Rising's Utah story ended? How can you not be? But it's not his fault. He is not to blame. Sometimes a game of football doesn't really give a rat's ass how you feel or what you think.
100%.
And we're learning that with Cam Rising. But I'm going to say again, as a Notre Dame fan, I wish Cam Rising had been our starting quarterback in South Bend, because I think Cam Rising's heart and his spirit, that's what college football should be about.
Look no further than the USC games. I mean, the the absolute just
Absolutely.
warrior mentality to go out and win those games, and the some of the UCLA games that they had played in, and there were just a lot of those games that were grinded out physical games. And, we talked a ton on the show about how he was getting a little bit too much exposure. He was taking too many hits, trying to do too much. And, the Baylor hit, I didn't feel like he was doing too much. He was running towards the sideline and they popped him, and they popped him out of bounds and obviously hit him into the Gatorade cooler. And that's pretty much the end of it. So, I just think I think that Utah needs and is getting, frankly, sort of this injection of, hey, we can finally move on. We can move forward with the program. Typically in college athletics, that's what senior days are for. And that's what
Yes.
All those kind of days where you're celebrating people through the process that are every single year. That's what those are for. They're as a player, you're building up to having, your final game at Rice Eccles.
But do you know what I mean though, when I say I feel like there is an irrational amount of anger to Cam Rising. The year that he sat out, the anger, the vitriol, the lies, the storytelling, the fabrication that surrounded his situation. Only at Utah.
Mm-hmm.
The hate and the vitriol towards Utah in the conference last year, because of the arrogance, because of this belief that Utah doesn't want to be in the conference. I believe, and it's just my opinion, that this is a really important year for Utah and Kyle Whittingham.
100%.
Because I again will tell you, Kyle Whittingham has accomplished things that I don't know any other coach has accomplished. Taking this team, after Pervin Lyer left for Florida, taking this team to the Pac-12. Taking this team through a period in 2015 and 2016, I guess it was. Maybe it was 2013, 2014, where a lot of people thought Kyle Whittingham should have been fired. Then to rise through that, persevere, recruit, the Dennis Erickson era, to win, the conference, to go to back-to-back Rose Bowls, to lose them in heartbreaking fashion with a pig farmer at quarterback. The Cam Rising situation, the Brant Keithy situation, all of the things Kyle Whittingham has been through. If he does not win this conference this year, my fear is that we will never remember Kyle Whittingham for the legend that he is.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rose Bowls and the Mountain West, the Pac-12, thumping Utah all those years. Well, he flamed out at the end, and because that's what we do in sports. Yeah. I think this is a critical year. If Jason Beck and Devin Dampier come in here and light this conference on fire and can be one of the better offensive coordinator quarterback combos in a league that's just stocked with quarterback talent, then Kyle Whittingham has a defense that you and I both know is going to be one of the top defenses in the conference.
Well, yeah, and I think to that point, I mean, you can't tell me he's not looking to prove a point here. I think that Kyle Whittingham is a lot of things. Some people would characterize Kyle Whittingham as a little bit stubborn in the way he goes about footballing, just with his style and being so defense, ground and pound mindset. But I think that we've never really seen Kyle Whittingham in a position where he's brought someone in who wasn't just the coordinator. You're talking about bringing in coordinator and quarterback, already knows the system. Do you understand how much of an advantage that is? Think about the Retzloff BYU journey that they've been on. Retzloff coming in, having to learn the playbook, having to do all of that, all that homework. This system's already in dude's head. He can lead the team from day one, and he can help. And I think that that is something that doesn't get talked about that I think is a big advantage for Utah. Now, there's a big difference between knowing the playbook and being able to run the playbook, obviously, and doing that in the Big 12 against the talent that this conference projects to have on defense. Obviously, it's a different conversation, but I just think if you said to me, hey, Kyle Whittingham has the offensive side of the ball taken care of. They've got a great quarterback, got a great OC. They've got good enough talent. All he's got to do is coach the team in the bigger picture and do the defense. That's a dangerous combination, man. And again, they got to go out and prove it. I agree with the commenters today saying, hey, like, let's not say they're going to win the conference. I agree with that. I agree with that. I think that a safe projection is top 3. I think it's reasonable. It's evidence-based to say that if you look at their track record, you look at what they've done this offseason, there's no reason why, barring injury, of course, that Utah wouldn't be a top 3 team in the Big 12. Just based on what we know Kyle Whittingham to be and based on what we know about the new guys coming in. So I just think that's a really fair assessment. I don't think that that's, too much or overstating it. And I just think that the Big 12 is a conference that really, really needs Utah to be relevant, because when you think about the slate, the schedule every week, Utah and Oklahoma State sucking in this conference last year and sucking out loud made it so the conference just wasn't relevant, really. I mean, yeah, you had Colorado and BYU, but that certainly is not the stature of a football game that, like Utah and Arizona State would have been. Can you imagine Utah full strength versus that Arizona State team last year? That's a hell of a football game. And the conference didn't have that. So that's why I say, I just think that this year, with Cam Rising officially retiring, moving on, that book, if you will, that novel has come to a close.
Yeah.
Now this program can feel good about moving forward and can feel good about what they have. And I do think we were golfing over the weekend. What is everyone asking us? Hey, well, how long is Wick going to coach?
What do you think about Utah?
Is he going to retire? That's what everyone's asking.
You look at their road games. This is a 9-win team just based on their road games. At UCLA, at Wyoming, at West Virginia, at BYU, at Baylor, at Kansas. They have a chance to win every one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I think BYU could arguably be the best team in the conference. But their home games, Cal Poly, that Texas Tech game, that's going to be one of the best games on the schedule the entire year. Because I think right now, if you're projecting this conference and you ask yourself, well, who's probably going to win this conference? Who's going to be in the conversation? Arizona State's going to be in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I think Joey's has to win a minimum of 10 games.
I think he has the most pressure on him of anybody in the entire conference.
Well, I think Dave Aranda's got a cupcake schedule. I mean, if there ever was a guy, his road games are SMU, Oak State, TCU, Cincinnati, and Arizona. You're not going to win 10 games with that road schedule. When your home games are Auburn, Samford, Arizona State, K-State, UCF, Utah, and Houston. And I think your losses are probably that Utah game, obviously. TCU.
Auburn.
I expect Baylor to. I think Houston's going to be exponentially better. That's going to be a good game. I would expect them to beat UCF because I think Scott Frost is probably a 5-win team this year.
Yeah.
Transition year.
Mm-hmm.
Different situation than Scott had the first time around, obviously. As a 5-win team. They should probably beat K-State. I would think their one home loss is going to be Arizona State or Utah. And there's a chance that Utah game is going to be in November. There's a chance they lose that game. Who's hurt, who's not, we'll find out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just go up and down this conference. And Baylor's got the easiest road to double-digit wins. Because if you look at Tech's schedule, Texas Tech really should be a one-loss team. I don't know how with their road schedule, though, at Utah, at Houston, at Arizona State, at K-State, at West Virginia. West Virginia's the last game of the year. That's going to be a tough trip. That's a long trip and a tough trip. Morgantown in the late fall is not ideal. But I look at Texas Tech, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kent State, Oregon State. They're 3-0. At Utah, I don't know. I don't know.
That could be one of the games of the year, potentially.
On paper, I think it is. I think on paper, that's a very even matchup. At Houston's a win for 4. Kansas a win for 5. At Arizona State, that should be a win. Oak State should be a win. K-State, that's one of their 3 potential losses. BYU and Lubbock, Texas Tech should win that game. I mean, you're looking right there. That's 9 wins.
Yeah.
And if you give them West Virginia, that's 10 wins. And if you give them Utah, that's 11 wins. I mean, I'm telling you, this team should be in position to win every game, Texas Tech. So do I think Utah wins the conference? Probably not. Not with Baylor's schedule. Can we at least all get on board that there are no more excuses for Baylor and Dave Aranda? If this team does not win, and I think the number's 10 games with that schedule, you got to win 10 games because Colorado can't possibly be as good as they were last year, this year.
Mm-hmm.
With the loss of quality on that offense, come on. I don't care if you're replacing Shedeur with Jesus Christ. You're not winning.
Don't you know who I am?
Yeah, I know. You and your dad are a couple of powerful dudes.
In
totally
God's
get it.
Name, image, and likeness.
Totally get it.
Dad.
Look, JC, I totally get it. But I'm telling you right now, Colorado takes a step back. You have to when you lose that kind of talent.
Yeah.
But you look at the rest of this league, Dave Aranda, I don't think he should be the head coach there. I truly, in my mind, I don't believe he should. But
again, expectations. I mean, I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but you know, in Waco, do they have expectations? Like, I mean, do people in Waco look at that schedule and do what you just did?
You can't lose the SMU game. If you lose the SMU game, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
All I hear about, Oak State James rolls in here every day and pretty much fillets Baylor as this hot team at the end of the year.
Well, he's a Baylor fan.
Huh?
He's a Baylor fan.
That's right. He is a Baylor fan.
So,
but I will just continue to tell you, I am not. I'm not the guy that's going to sit here and tell you I believe in Baylor.
Yeah,
because I don't. Sawyer Robertson's a hell of a player. This league and quarterbacks, you guys.
Yeah, I just think that this conversation, like coming off of the Brett Yormark extension, I think this conference needs expectations something terrible. I can't imagine everybody in Waco is just like, yeah, all right, 8 wins is a good year. Like, I can't imagine that that's the total sentiment, but I have to say, Dave still being there tells me it kind of is. Like, it's kind of hard to get away from that. It's hard for me to be like, yeah, well, they haven't fired Dave, and Dave's had some pretty mediocre ass seasons. Like, like that's kind of how it feels. And I, at least in Fort Worth with TCU, I can say, all right, well, you've got a damn good quarterback there. You've got a guy who at least has done some winning in the last 5 years. Right? At least there's some signs of life that way. And the question is, which of these schools in the conference is going to do the most in recruiting? And I think we all know the answer to that question. We all know who the top recruiters in this country are, or in this conference are. And it's not Dave Aranda.
I think if I look at the Big-12, and we're being honest, the best quarterbacks in this league, I mean, if I had to pick the best quarterbacks in this league, Baron Morton certainly has to be in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Hoover's got to be in that conversation. Jake Retzloff absolutely has to be in that conversation. But if I look at I mean, Sawyer Robertson is probably in that conversation, right? But is Connor Wegman in that conversation? Probably not. That's a 5. I think they're a 500, 6-7 win team in Houston. Brendan Sorsby, not. That's a 5-win team. But Rocco Becht, I think Iowa State continues to be a wild card in this league.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an 8-win team, 9-win team? Doesn't feel like it. It truly doesn't feel like it. But if I look at Baron Morton, Sam Levitt at Arizona State, I don't know. What is that offense without the bulldozer in the backfield?
Yeah. It's a great question.
I don't know. Is Sam Levitt really that good? What is, like, Avery Johnson was rumored to be going to Tennessee. Didn't happen. Stayed in Manhattan. K-State. I mean, at some point, Avery Johnson's going to be the guy y'all thought he was, right?
I mean, I guess.
Is this the year that happens? So I look at all this stuff, and then I say Devin Dampier coming to Utah as one of the most prolific quarterbacks in the country last year, staying in the same offense, probably the same language. Why would I not expect him to play well in a league where defense doesn't seem to be at a premium?
Yeah. That's a great question. Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair. I think, I don't know. I'm really, focused, stuck on, if you will, this relationship between Dampier and Beck, and the fact that this is an offense that's baked in already to your quarterback's brain. Like, the idea, to me, I guess it just really stands out to me that in a year when it was awful timing to have just like your worst season you've had in however long, it also stands out to me on the flip side of that coin that because you had that year you had, and because Cam Rising is now retired, and because Isaac Wilson didn't pan out the way you wanted him to, now you've gone out and you made some phone calls and you made this happen. And so now
I think it's shocking.
Yeah, I mean, I think the same people who are like, oh, well, has Kyle Whittingham lost his touch, or like the casuals that question Kyle Whittingham? I'm sitting here saying, dude, like, does it not stand out to you that this guy just potentially got, I don't know.
He brought in one of the most prolific offenses with its offensive coordinator and quarterback. He brought that offense into his program,
which I think through that is the best situation they've had offensively. Like Utah fan remembers the Travis Wilson era, right? Like Utah fan remembers all the mediocre ass quarterbacks that have come through this program.
But I also remember when you say Travis Wilson, I remember him going head over toes at the Big House.
Yeah.
Right. I remember Taysom Hill jumping over Texas. Right. And so all of this to say, I think largely what we saw last year, a lot of those patterns will play out. I think that you are going to be lucky to win 4 games in conference if you're Oak State. I think Baylor's got the easiest. I think it's the easiest schedule in the conference. Yeah. If they don't win 10 games, how does Dave Aranda keep his job? If you're a Baylor fan and you win 8 games, you should be absolutely pissed off because he's going to keep his job. 8 Ball's going to keep his job if they win 8 games.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, is that not a schedule that should have you at least in the CFP conversation, like on the low end?
Well,
like
all you need to do is win the conference. And the Big 12 in 2025, I expect West Virginia to win games you don't expect them to win.
Wow.
Right? I'm a believer in Rich Rod. I'm a huge Rich Rodriguez fan. I think you guys know that by now. But look at their schedule. Robert Morris, Ohio, the pick game in week 3. When is it not? Right? That's a huge game. At Kansas, Utah, at BYU, at UCF, TCU, at Houston, Colorado, at Arizona State, Texas Tech. Jesus Christ, who hates West Virginia? Apparently, everybody hates West Virginia.
Yeah.
Because that schedule is just absolutely...
We'll see you next year.
A kick in the balls. And then I say, well, Baylor, though, is the Auburn game a walk in the park? Not at all. Tough game. You better beat SMU. If you're Dave Aranda and you lose to SMU, they should fire your ass on the spot. If you're 0-2 after SMU, pack your stuff because you're out of here.
Yeah, dude.
Pack your stuff. We're out of here.
Baylor won't do that. I would do that. I'll be honest with you. If I was at Baylor and they started 0-2, Dave Aranda's out. Big change is coming. because you fired every position coach.
Out of here.
You've got everybody's Heisman Trophy winner in Sawyer Robertson at quarterback, because I'm tired of hearing about, oh, he's amazing. Oh, my God. You see how deep his throat is? Yeah, I don't care. Go win games. Go beat SMU. I don't want a single flipping Baylor fan in here if you don't beat SMU.
James.
Hey, am I making too much out of that? I'm being serious. I know we have a lot of Texans on this show. If Baylor doesn't beat SMU, I don't want to hear a peep out of a single Baylor fan. It's remarkable to me.
I'm not doing that.
Oh, Baylor. Hey, you guys lost to SMU. Baylor. Hey, you're 0-2. Auburn and SMU. Oh, Dave Aranda, let me polish your knob.
Do you view this season as a failure?
What are we doing?
Which knob? Because it's kind of, it's chromed up.
Dave's only got one. K. Nurin says BYU will play for a Big 12 championship. They're going to be very good. Jake Retzloff, again, I will die on this hill. That's my boy. Portland State, Stanford, East Carolina, at Colorado, West Virginia. You should start 5-0. And then you go to Tucson to start 6-0. And then it's the game of games. Thine Holy War in Provo, BYU and Utah. At Iowa State, at Texas Tech, TCU, at Cincinnati, UCF. That's another 10-win schedule.
Yeah.
With that talent, with the transfer portal they had, with Jay Hill still on the defensive coordinator seat, with Kalani, with everything that is going on at BYU, they're in great hands. They're in a great spot. Jake Retzloff, I think will push to be the best quarterback in this league this year.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it is, but we'll see. We'll see. And I think when you look at BYU, look at how the fan base turned out and showed out last year. When BYU is elite the way they were last year, and they're in the conversation for the college football playoff because they're I got to win this game, and you lost. You can't lose that Kansas game at home. Sorry. You lost. I know Kalani Sitake well enough to know that Kansas loss was a teaching moment, because you learn far more when you lose than when you win.
Right.
And the roar and the thunder and the passion and the heat that came from BYU fans last year, you haven't seen anything yet. Wait until that fan base is really cranked up, because they're legitimately good, and they don't need Darius Lassiter skipping through the meadow, avoiding tulips to score touchdowns late in games to win. They don't need the other school's athletic director losing his shit in a post-game press conference and on the field to win games. Because I think BYU's that good this year. Because everybody forgets experience in college football is what wins you games. And I think they have a lot of experience.
Facts, dude. Facts.
So, yeah. Stadium guy James, I am not a Baylor fan. Jeez, here we go.
How do you say that?
Well, you're not an Oklahoma State fan anymore. Now you're a TCU fan.
You're filling in for somebody.
We'll see, James. Oak State is my undergrad degree. TCU is my doctorate. Okay. So, and I just want to understand this. You're saying you're in the class of 2029. You understand it's 2025, right? Like, that's
not 1 or 2 or 7.
That's like, in dog years, that's like 37 years away.
Is the grant of rights in the ACC still going to exist at that time?
No, that's much shorter than James's doctorate. You're a TCU fan now, apparently, which, bro, knock yourself out. We're not doing it every day. Buffalo Hunter. Aranda should be fired for how soft he talks. Could be. Big Daddy Magic. Oak State, just propaganda hype. Nobody believes, no credibility, down the toilet. That's all people need to know. Could be right.
Wow, legitimate comment, dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stadium guy James, I love Rich Rod's offense. I like the run first spread offense. I've heard that about you. West Virginia is going to be better this year. Well, it's year one, and year one coaches with a lack of talent don't generally win a lot of games. or year 57, coaches who take unproven, untested quarterbacks out of the portal and then their fans cry natty. Those guys don't generally win either.
Yeah.
James knows all too well. I believe Big Papa War Machine. I believe K-State believes they're in the national championship window.
Do you believe?
Until Avery Johnson proves he is a competent, capable, operational quarterback, they're not in anything window. They're in can't wait for spring break window is what they are.
Yeah.
Buffalo Hunter, I hope Rich Rod brings West Virginia back. Me too. In the 2024-25 fiscal year, the Big 12 distributed a record $470 million in revenue to its 14-member university. We've talked about this already. However, the original 10 schools experienced a slight reduction. Okay, cool. What does that have to do with anything today? I would like Baylor to win the Big 12, but I already put money on K-State, so there it is. Okay.
Wow.
So you got Benji's on K-State.
Okay.
Buffalo Hunter, I remember Taysom Hill never beating Utah, and he was still the best quarterback in the state his entire time at BYU. Like it's remarkable
Haters,
to me
bro.
that Utah fan just will never say anything nice about anybody else's quarterback.
Yeah.
It's not close that Taysom Hill was the better quarterback. I'm not. No, man. No. Man.
Next comment.
Witt and Venables did same thing. Which one pays off first? I think Kyle Whittingham has a recruiting advantage with Jason Beck. I think. BYU is my pick to win the Big 12. I saw Jake Retzloff last year against SMU. You mean when John Stone's dreams died on the field?
Wait,
and he is a legit.
Wasn't that his boy?
Yeah, John Stone was his. Like he was going to be. He's the greatest quarterback anybody's ever seen.
Oh, wasn't it
now,
Preston?
now it's Hoss Hengy. Now it's Hoss Hengy, the greatest quarterback anybody's ever. Preston Stone.
Preston Stone.
Yeah,
Stay hard.
yeah,
Yeah, same
big cock
thing.
guy. Anyway,
Yeah, clean cut, you know?
Please don't say nice things about Jake Retzloff because you're always wrong when you compliment quarterbacks. Always. Brandon Whedon. Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Did you guys know?
God, Monty.
For Brandon Whedon, it bends a little left. Did you guys know that?
Yeah, boy.
I mean, let me tell you something about his goalpost. I'm going to hell. Thankfully, it's not real. Hank LaRanger.
Hey, Hank. The Ranger.
Henry. In my opinion, either Utah or Baylor cannot afford to lose their openers. I don't know. I know it doesn't affect the Big 12 chances, but it's bad optics. Well, and
you're not wrong about that.
That's exactly right.
Bro, it's not ideal to lose your opener, especially against, who are they playing?
Utah's not losing to UCLA.
Yeah.
And they're going to pound sand. They're going to gape Cal Poly.
They're going to gape Cal Poly.
I mean, you want to talk about a 1 versus
Cute
100
genus.
gorilla. They're
Bro.
going to 1 versus 100 on Cal Poly.
Bro. Damn.
Then they got to make that faithful trip to Laramie. And every year it's some sucker going up to Laramie. Right? So
Who's going to zero blitz in the red zone this year?
Joey, every week. Yeah, that trip to Laramie is nar binks. I would agree with that. Johnny Gonzalez, how is Rocco not better than Brock right now? Brock Purdy? I don't know what you mean by that, but that's fine. That's fine. Mr. Preston, I thought Jam was a Pedo State fan.
Bro.
James was a pedo. BYU isn't surprising anyone this year. Teams are going to get up for them. I would agree with that.
This is a family program. Okay.
Right.
Family
I
program.
don't know that anybody in the second half of the schedule was surprised by BYU, and they still won a lot of games.
Yeah.
They can't have. My guess is the growth will come in situations like the Kansas and the Arizona State game. You can't have those performances when you're undefeated. You can't lose night games at home because dreams go to Provo to die. You know how hard it is to play in Provo at night as a visiting team?
Yeah.
Unless you're Kansas last year, and then it actually wasn't that difficult, right? Like, that's the worst part of it. That's the worst part of it. I call it like I see it. Yeah, I know, but you're never correct.
So you see it wrong, dude.
You're never correct.
Ain't ducking no smoke.
Let me tell you something about this Oak State offensive line.
Now, it all originated from the IPF. And,
And that world-class wide receiver room that Oak State has, which is 10 times better than BYU, that's what's going to make this offensive line incredible. Proceeded to be one of the worst offensive. I'm not sure their offensive line last year was better than Colorado's 2 years ago.
Monty, we all went to Buc-ee's after one of the games, and I still can't figure out why the offensive line was so bad.
Yeah, I was picking that hot dog wiener off the roller, thinking about Jake. Whew, what a stud. But anyway, my point is, James, you're so rarely right. Haas Henji for Heisman. Ollie Gordon's going to have the best running back year in the country.
He's just going to run some stairs, Monty, and it's going to be fine.
DUI, picked 179th.
And he will every single time.
Don't. Laramie is always a street fight. Always. Kaner and BYU will win the Big 12 championship in football and basketball.
Maybe.
Hey, money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy you a Big 12 championship. I can tell you that right now.
Bro.
Nacho Libre, K-State season rides on week 0. Well, nobody's season rides on week 0. But K-State's got Iowa State, and which I'm not a commissioner of a league. I don't make football schedules. Who thought it was a good idea to have K-State, Iowa State play in the first game of the season? If I'm the Big 12 and I have K-State, Iowa State, can we at least get that in October?
No.
Who cares about K-State at Arizona? Why are we playing K-State, Iowa State? It's infuriating to me. Buffalo Hunter, K, go home, you're drunk.
Okay.
BYU's going to potentially have a better year than Utah, though. On paper, they have more stability. Mike, I gave Scott Frost slack for some personal issues years back, but by his interview, he hasn't changed. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Scott Frost had better be a different man than he was last time. We'll see. Blue Turf. Is Retzloff going to complete 60% this year? Okay, well, I think Jake Retzloff, if you're hating on Jake Retzloff, or you're saying he's not good, you're either just a troll or you don't know football. Because Jake Retzloff last year, admittedly, needs to be a more efficient passer. I don't even disagree with that. 12 interceptions, 58%? You got to be better than that, especially when you were only sacked 18 times. The play calling's also got to be a lot better than that.
Yes.
Which, again, I'm assuming you have no idea how football works, but some of the play calling there was brutal. But who doesn't say that about their offensive coordinator? It's not my fault he won't read the whole comment. No,
Okay, here we go, dude. Don't deflect, bro. We didn't skip out what? Okay, what did we miss in your prior comment that was just so incredibly damaging to your point?
I call it like I see it. Jake Retzloff is a bona fide star. He can make all the right throws and can extend plays with his legs.
Okay, so what did we miss by not reading the rest of your comment? Respectfully, what
James,
did we miss?
Again, you're just somebody who, as soon as you put your stamp of approval on somebody, it's almost like they wake up the next morning with a herpes rash. It is just, that might be a little harsh.
I started having second thoughts.
Because herpes isn't going to kill you. Anytime James puts a signature on you, you're dead. You're a dead man walking. Right? It's really unfair. Preston Stonen is not dead.
Clean cut, dude.
Dead. Right? Ollie Gordon, deader than dead. You talked about how great Ollie Gordon was. Dude went out and got a DUI and then ended Mike Gundy's career at Oklahoma State. On top of that, you cursed not only the quarterback, you cursed an entire offensive line and wide receiver room, dude. Please keep Notre Dame out your mouth. That'd be very much appreciated.
Oh, dear. Oh, my.
TJ Beck, T-Boone Pickens couldn't buy an offensive line, but can buy unlimited mullet cuts. Damn right. Eric Wasikowski, who the hell pissed off India last night? Yeah, I don't know. Ask the Pakistanis. Backwoods Mike Smith, someone had beef barbecue. James.
Hey, by the way,
Yeah, how's your
the
butthole, man?
dude? Yeah. How's the butthole?
How we feeling intestinally?
Hugh Janus.
Joey B, Jake and Red. Wow. The Monty Show.
Okay, bro.
It's
dude,
not
you gotta
red.
Get it right, bro. It's salmon.
It's sink.
Yeah,
Not pink and not salmon, sink.
Yeah.
He's
Like-
got a bunch of eggs all over him.
Yeah, you got to be better, dude.
Big Daddy Dallas.
Oh God.
Cam is like Greg Oden of Ohio State. So much promise, but could never stay healthy. Truth. Danny Kiger. DK. Danny Kiger. Anyway. I'm here for it today. I might not be able to say a whole sentence without coughing, but I've got energy. James firmly believes if a player runs all the amazing stairs between the IPF and the top of the upper grandstand, he'll definitely win a Heisman. No, Danny, I saw Jake Retzloff play in person. So we also need to stop with this nonsense. Well, I saw him in person. You can't see him as well in person as you can on TV.
What?
What does it mean you saw him in person? You're not getting a better view of him in person than you are on TV.
But Monty, I'm sitting on top of the IPF on top of the stadium.
Haas Hengy. I mean, this fucking guy. I was at Bucky's talking to Cheryl. Now, she might have 3 kids with 7 different dudes.
But she is hotter than my wife.
But my wife, who's mildly unattractive. While my mildly unattractive wife was picking up a pack of zingers, I was talking to Cheryl.
What's an erection?
3 kids, 7 guys, you divide up the seed. My point is...
You divide up the seed?
My point is, Cheryl was telling me that Preston Stone, who bends a little left, she was telling me when he goes deep, there's nothing like it. Preston Stone.
All gas, no brake.
Davey O'Brien coming Preston Stone's way. Mike Smith, don't fall for it, James. Monty is just egging you on to post a paid comment to say what you have already said.
Dude, bro.
Joey B. Jake is about to tap out. He's done with the stadium guy, James. James is a good dude. He's a character.
It's banter, bro.
He's a character on the show.
Yeah, man. It's not personal.
It's like Big Daddy Magic claiming he was going to send me a sex tape and that I wasn't allowed to play it on the show.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're not sending us a sex tape, dude. Who are you, Ray J? Come on.
He's tried. He has tried. But it's fine. I am. Dude, I opened up my Insta Snap face and I have 11 DMs.
Okay. Let's just get one. Is there one that calls you stupid or dumb? We can always count on there being one.
Jaron Eccles sends me a DM.
Oh.
Hey, Monty, I know you hate getting blown up in messages.
Here I am.
But I got to shoot my shot.
Bruh.
My sister and I are huge hockey fans, and we want to start a podcast like yours based on the Utah Mammoth. Is there any guidance you could give me on how to get started? I'd really appreciate any help. You guys are awesome. Thanks. Yeah, check your trademarks and don't call yourself the Yeti until the Yeti Thermos Company will allow you to.
Yeah, don't be a cooler.
Don't be a cooler. Yeah, we can. I'll message you.
Is Jaron Eccles here right now?
I don't know if Jaron's here.
Jaron.
But I will definitely reach back out to Jaron. For sure. Maury Alvarez DMs me. Apparently there's an AI thing about a theme song to our show.
I'm not listening to it.
You're not going to do. Okay, I'll wait to do it. Let's because there are a couple of Utah fans. Let's see. Keegan.
Hey, Keeks.
Hey, Keegs.
Yeah.
What a dick.
Yeah.
I haven't even read your message yet. Keegs, oh, you are a dick. Keegs says, don't start talking about Utah now like you give a rat's ass about us. You hated Cam Rising and you've never been a Wit supporter. Why don't you shut up? Okay, Keegs. I mean, when you finish it with why don't you shut up, that gives you so much more credibility.
Hold on. I thought we were the Utah Homer show.
That's
Like,
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
like, what do you mean, dude?
You can't make this up. You cannot
Bro.
make this up. He sends me another message that says, I should have known you were going to be a hater when you started showing videos of you swinging PXGs. Couldn't afford the Titleist, I see. That's what it is. I couldn't afford Titleist.
You're an idiot, dude. You're an absolute buffoon, dude.
Oh,
like,
Keegs.
like, man, you really think that we couldn't put a brand deal together? We couldn't afford it. I mean, we can afford to pie it straight up, but we didn't want to do that. We wanted to go with PXG.
Do you see the courses that we pay to play on?
Yeah, I feel like PXG is much more relatable to the average golfer. Who
and I hit him well.
And yeah, I hit him well. Like, I just don't see what the issue is.
Monty, do you and the wife plan on binge watching a live smokestack cam on YouTube? Is this a Pope reference?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I swear to God, if this is a Pope reference.
Live smoke.
And it is conclave. Oh, do you guys get into the Catholics like electing a new pope through burning?
Well, the Catholics want to elect Donnie. You know, I mean, if you listen to him,
where's Wasikowski?
Yeah, the Donnie, the Catholics love Donnie.
This is wild. TJ Beck, 2 shakes, maybe a meat gazer, hell yeah. But James is a stadium gazer with his eyes on the parking lot. Oh yeah. Wow. Stadium guy James. Oak State has to get their act together.
Well,
the spring ball practices are over and they can't figure out who QB was.
Well, Monty, Haas Hengy in the IPF was absolutely, positively incredible. I mean, just incredible. But he was no Brandon Whedon.
God, I know you and your dad are busy electing a new pope.
Dad?
But God, that you already struck down Haas Hengy.
He's a bum.
God, that you already struck down Haas Hengy. Who's another example of James putting his stamp of approval on? Haas Hengy's the greatest quarterback anybody's ever slurped.
It's my quarterback.
Right? Like that you already struck him down, God. Thank you. Thank you. You're already off the Haas Hengy bandwagon. Oh, you can't. You can't. Yeah, I know. Never been a Wit supporter. WTF.
Yeah.
All anybody ever says is, oh, you'll never see anything critical of Kyle Whittingham. I know. It's ridiculous. Wasikowski truck stop conference. Are there no truck stops in Michigan? Come on.
Isn't that what the big house is? Eric,
you're a lot lizard guy. Tell me that you don't know there's
You're a lot lizard guy. Bro.
Gumby, one major draw of this showgram for me as the beginning was this showgram was pro Ute football. There you go.